Hi, Mike Griffin here from Elevate. We're here back with Abby today to do our next sales podcast. And Abby, where are you today? Where are you at?
Hey, you want to take a guess, Mike? Because you fly north, I fly south. You fly south, I fly north. I'm just gonna show you. I'm here by Ginza. That's the old
Oh,
Ginza police
yeah.
autobahn
Oh,
in Tokyo. So I was here, and I'll be heading to Singapore later in the month, but go Hong Kong and then to Singapore.
oh, good.
What about
Yeah,
you?
I'm back in Singapore. I'll be here for another 10 days, then to Jakarta, then Kuala Lumpur for a CEO seminar where I'm facilitating for about 500 CEOs in KL with Microsoft. We're talking about
Nice.
AI. So anyway, today's topic is about how Asian B2B customers are changing. So let's start. Abby, you've been in some big markets: Japan, China, Korea, and of course, we work together in Indonesia, Singapore, etc., India. Um, what have you seen over the past few years, the changes, maybe since COVID or even before, how Asian B2B customers are changing? Give us an overview.
I think from my perspective, again, just the diversity and the time. So we've got a spread of territory. We've also had the changing
Yeah.
times. And what I'd like to do, Mike, whilst you brought COVID, it's a very important sort of point at which a lot of business practices have changed. Perhaps even before that, I was already beginning to notice a rather sharp or very pronounced trend where you're seeing a customer who's way more educated than before.
Oh, hmm.
So your average salesperson is going to meet the customer, but the customer's not meeting him or her at a point of not knowing anything about your product. They're often coming to the table with some knowledge prior. So number one, a more educated customer across the board. I noticed that. The other sort of large theme that I've kind of been experiencing myself is it's no longer an individual customer in B2B.
Ah,
It's a collective or a group or a team, and
mhm,
sometimes it's
mhm,
multifunctional customer. It's not
mhm.
just one function that you're selling. So those are sort of the two major aspects I've seen, over the last, call it 10 years, of how things are changing in Asia. And perhaps some of these might have been happening in other, in Western and more developed economies from before, but this is very pronounced. And I'm in Japan now. 10 years ago, I remember coming here, and people would, even in Korea, there would be enough of an appetite to learn about your product. Today, coming in, they already know your product fairly well.
Mm.
So this is an
I,
observation.
yeah, I agree with that. Research shows by Korn Ferry that now customers only spend 17% of their time in front of salespeople, whether it's virtual or face to face. So this means they've done a lot of research, like you just mentioned. They're much better educated. They'll do their research, tech savvy, to maybe make decisions even before they call on the salespeople or your competitors to see which product. I found that this can make prospecting or getting that first sales meeting with the customer more difficult. In
Why would you
North
say
America,
so?
well, in North American cultures, the attitude normally is for B2B, the more information we share with each other, the better deal we get.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now in Asia, the B2B customer may be more secretive with their information, do their research, and then not want to share much with you up front, like in that first meeting. You better be prepared fully to show your expertise and to build relational trust. I think that relational trust element, the emotional element, is much more prominent in Asia, where in America or North America, for example, okay, we're both in business, let's get to business, let's talk. Any comment on that?
Yeah, I think I was gonna take your comment about it being more difficult and gonna turn it around 180 degrees and say it's probably a lot more easier because you've got a customer coming into the onto the table more educated. To me, it's an opportunity tend to demonstrate a very high level of honesty.
Yeah.
They're coming in knowing some of your features, and you're going in there acknowledging and saying, hey, we agree, these are the features we have, benefits we can provide you with these features. And if there are areas where there are gaps, acknowledging them will demonstrate a level of honesty to the customer. And I actually think it's a great opportunity to build relationship and establish a level of credibility, because they know that you're not effectively BSing in the meeting.
Yeah, I agree that the important thing is to be prepared with your product or solution knowledge. And what I may call, Abby, what you have, I'll call it RQ. You know, you have EQ, CQ for cultural quotient. Let's call it RQ, relationship quotient.
I think that's very, very, very good.
Yeah.
I think that should be the next management
Ah,
exercise.
I have to run out and I have to quickly run out and trademark this and protect it. But that RQ, because in Asia, customers want a relationship before they'll sign the deal in most cases.
All
Yeah,
cases.
In Western societies, if I may add, the legal system is much tighter. You can take a customer to court. You know, the legal system protects you. Where in Asia, many countries don't have a very strong legal system. So that relationship and trust makes much more difference in closing the sale. They want to work with a salesperson they can trust when there's problems. Comments, Avi?
Absolutely, spot on. And also to extend it, if you think about it, sales anywhere is built on the premise that people buy from people they like.
Exactly.
Right? So it goes without saying, you know, and I think it's around the world. I mean, Asia being a little more, or rather some Asian economies being a little more prominent in the fact that you need to establish that relationship. And sometimes it's the relationship that then leads to the feature benefit discussion. And it's not always the feature benefits that lead to the relationship. So they're a little bit different from probably America or some of the more other Western economies.
Yeah, so in the Western economies, it might be let's talk about our problems, the features and benefits, and share information. Where in Asia, hey, I'm going to check you out and make sure I can trust you before we talk about solutions, features, and benefits, etc.
So I'll give you an example of, say, about eight months, maybe 9 months ago. I was in China. We were meeting the CIO of a very big retail brand. And we had with us a colleague from Singapore who came into the meeting, and you know, young, ambitious person, but I think was new to the environment. And I did kind of prep that perhaps you should connect first before you ask the question. And she came in and asked him the question. Let's just call him Andy for purpose of discussion. She goes like, Andy, can you tell us a little more about your challenges and problems so we can tell you how we can? And then he sits back in his chair. It's like, actually, I don't quite know you guys well enough. Why don't you tell me what you've done for other retail customers, and I'll tell you what my problems are. Just spot on, right? This is how it works in Asia.
Yeah, we had the same thing happen earlier this week. We have a Chinese partner, again, a partner company, and the CEO just came in and with the customer and made no attempt to build a relationship, and just did content blasting. You know, just blast, and hopefully the customer will pick up something from the content that he's blasting. You know, luckily the customer is very switched on, very mature. You know, and he says, "Okay, well, just send me your presentation." And he's actually forgiving that they're the content blaster, but the relationship, they missed it. Now, let me ask, if it's, you know, this trust element, before we talk about solutions and maybe even eventually sign the deal, what do you find are the differences between hunting in Asia or farming in Asia, like keeping a long-term customer loyal, versus the West? Anything there?
So, just going back to more than 20 years ago when I was selling in America, I think the big difference would be people are okay for you to be transactional in the States.
Yeah,
They know that this guy's job is a transactional job. He's doing it and he's going. And there are parts of Asia where that still works, where
mm,
there's a awareness that that's the nature of your job. And generally speaking, in such areas, those customers who are more exposed globally, they are more tolerant and sort of accommodating of that. But a lot of the markets, I think they kind of frown upon a transactional
mhm,
engagement. They
mhm.
really want to see you stay with them long enough. So those are the markets where if you brought in a classic hunting role and say, hey, we're going to use this account executive to go in and win the deal. He's won the deal. Now let's pass it on. You've lost the customer. You might get the first year's renewal, but you've lost the customer
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
they
I
want to
agree.
call the
Yeah.
same person they bought from 2 years down the road.
Yep. Yeah. So what I've sensed is in Asia, hunting may be more difficult than the West. Customers, hey, I'm a B2B customer. I am paid to meet salespeople, so come in, let's chat, etc. But I may call in more and more vendors. Okay, so I pick. In Asia, the trust element, and actually South America, actually, I want to get to trust you. But once I trust you, you're into my private space. I tell you a bit
Yes.
more. And I think the long-term loyalty sometimes is greater in Asia, that the customer will stick with you because he'd rather stick with the devil he knows than go out and find other alternatives. Any comment on that?
Yeah, the known devil is always better than the unknown angel, right? That's. But I say that very jokingly, but in reality, you're spot on in that your your initial engagement can be painful. It
Yeah.
can be painfully
Yes.
long. Maybe that's the right term, painfully long. But again, the bright side is if you've made the right investments and taken the right steps, if you've brought the right kind of salesperson to engage, you also cement yourself and kind of fence yourself from the competition. Because remember, if it was hard for you to get in, it's probably harder for your competition to get in. So, and
Exactly.
this
Yeah.
is the classic question we have when we bring in and say, "Oh, we just need somebody to hunt in and go win something." And I always tell everybody, it's a lot easier to win adjacencies in your business with the same customer than trying to go reopen, a door at a customer who is already happy with the competition. Because if that relationship is secure, and I'm in Japan, so I'll
So
use that example again. It's one of those places where it is probably the hardest to dislodge a competitor because if
mm,
there are relationships built, there's people in jobs in Japan for 20 years, 25 years. They've been working with the same vendor salesperson for the last 20 years. You're not going to go in there and say, hey, I've got this really cool product with ABC. They'll listen to
yeah,
you, they'll bow,
mm.
they'll walk out. That's the
Yeah, my brother is in automotive in America, and he's brought this up to me. We talked about it a few times, like dealing with the Japanese automotive manufacturers. I don't have to mention a name, you can guess. But once you're in the door, you're treated as a partner, you're treated as what you call it, a loyal champion, trusted advisor, and there's a long-term relationship based on trust and of course product excellence.
yeah.
Um, and I still believe in Asia, again, most of my experiences out here, that the number one competitive advantage is how well your B2B salesperson can build relationships
Yes.
to gain trust, because
Yes.
products are so similar these days. If I buy let's say a Samsung washing machine or a LG, I'm going to get a good washing machine. If I buy a
Yeah.
Toyota car, versus who knows what another car, I'm going to get a good car. So
Yeah.
I still believe that relationship building that a salesperson brings to the table, that trust, is still the number one competitive advantage in Asia.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the well, I would have liked to say that's true across the world. But perhaps in the new era of the AI-driven software companies, there is this view that, hey, we just have to make our product really very sticky. And I think Apple kind of let the ground on this one for a long time because they didn't really have as much of a sales force. Instead, it was our product is engineered so well, our products are so cool, people will buy it, and then the marketing to drive the brand, right, is fantastic. But I don't know how many brands can command that power. Um, but I still think in the B2B world, there's very little you can do to building brand awareness. You still need the relationship, and especially in Asia. That's spot on, spot on. So I kind of wanted to, since we're talking about this, and then I go back to the program, the Elevate program I
Yes.
attended for consultative selling skills, and you start the program off with the changing customer landscape, Mike. And I when you brought that as a topic today, I was trying to build some context around how would you know first of all, why start with that? Why start a selling
Well,
skills program with that context of the changing customer landscape? And how have you kind of fitted in what they need or what the salesperson needs in terms of selling skills in this context of changing customers?
well, I learned from Xerox and then Achieve Global that you want to, as a salesperson, move from transactional selling, which sometimes is good for smaller customers or a one-off deal, to consultative or relationship selling. And if you remember our airplane model, we have the need satisfaction seller, the what's the next one? Resourceful expert, loyal champion, and trusted advisor. So this in Asia makes much more sense to get to that, at least that resourceful expert, loyal champion area, to cement the account for the long term, because it's all about relationship. Yeah, and customers do expect you to be prepared, and they do expect you to know your product, but that relationship to become that resourceful expert is crucial, and then move up hopefully to a trusted business advisor. So that we built that in the program early because most Western sales training ignores the attitude and relationship.
Oh, yes.
It's,
Yes.
it's skill-based, probe, support, communicate your solution, close the deal, handle apathy, it's all robotic in nature and not much on relationships. So we built a program that combines and synergizes relationship building with the core B2B selling skills. Yeah, that's a powerful combination, which again
I think so.
cements the B2B salesperson as being your competitive advantage, the competitive advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, because the traditional view of, hey, here's selling skills. Well, you could just do that in an online video lecture and post it on YouTube. But yeah, when you tie that to saying, hey, here's how it connects to, whether you want to elevate yourself from, I use the word elevate, from being a need satisfaction seller or a trusted business advisor, that kind of makes good sense now that you put it in context. Thank you.
Let me build on that. Buying committees are becoming larger. You mentioned this earlier. So again, in the old days, maybe you had to build a relationship with one core person who was like the factory
Yes.
manager.
Yes.
Something. So nowadays you have to deal with a committee. And again, if the committee's Asian, they're not going to be as trusting or as open and sharing, possibly as a specific, let's say, North American customer. So the ability to build relationships goes way beyond one person now. You may have to build a relationship with Asian different personalities. Yeah.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
crucial. So
Yes.
I build a good relationship maybe with the economic buyer, as we may call him or her. And maybe they're a steady, compliant person who just loves quality. But then you meet the financial controller. He may be a very pushy, dominant type person who's interested in finance. So how to manage the RQ, as we talked about earlier, across lower trust environments and at a committee level.
Yes, and now, as you were saying that, I was thinking, my own experience, there's times when you're speaking with a stakeholder in Hong Kong, you're speaking with his boss who's in Singapore, or maybe his direct report who's in Singapore, and then a peer of his who's sitting in Bangalore, and you're trying to orchestrate all these people's agreement to pull off a deal, which maybe
Yeah.
someone in New York has to then finally sign off on.
That's right.
There-
So,
yeah.
and now let's add the layer of Zoom and virtual meetings on top of that. Yeah, which, oh,
Hey,
just
I like that one. Like, I can be, we can be in, we've done this 3 times and we've been in 3 different locations now between Shanghai, Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Singapore. I mean, yeah, it's kind of
yeah,
that is fun in my view. Do you see any big changes in that? While I make it sound like fun, obviously it has its own challenges. Do you see any significant difference in your own business and the way it's been conducted before COVID, and before we made Zoom as our norm?
yeah. One is I see companies slimming down their vendor list. Yeah, so I mean, in your business, Abhi, Cisco, I mean, if you're in, you're in, and there probably isn't other vendors that are going to come in if you got a good relationship when you work for Cisco. But I see them slimming down their vendor list to make things more easy and to get things moving. That's
Okay.
one. Number 2 is the Zoom virtual thing. Lower trust customers can keep you more at an arm's length. Maybe not want to meet you face to face, keep you at arm's length. And this is also, the younger generation is more tech savvy, but I as a customer can keep you at arm's length as a B2B salesperson by maybe not even showing my face on the screen.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, not even giving you any idea of my facial expressions and how I'm, let's call it, feeling. I see this more now after COVID because of Zoom and MS Teams and things. So arm's length, slimming down vendor lists, and of course, we mentioned earlier, buying committees are, growing. So let me swing back. Because of these barriers that you sometimes face in Asia, still, the referral is the best way to get business. I mean, that could be around the world, but I think even more so in Asia because of the lower levels of trust in different countries across businesses. Getting your salespeople to ask for referrals or get referrals is crucial.
Yeah, I think that a referral means you basically cut short the time required to build trust and establish a base level of relationship, because you've already someone I know. I want to just extend that, Mike. And part of valuable relationships that I've learned is been probably engaging with a similar group of customers for about 20 years now in Asia, right? Singapore. And I've noticed that a lot of these people move, and as they move, so have my own network. It's kind of expanded.
Yes.
It's funny enough. I was in, I'm in Tokyo now, and then I got this call from a former colleague of mine, and she said, "Hey, I have one of my team members in Tokyo. Can you introduce him to someone in this bank?" And well, they're all my buddies from I don't know how long ago. So I just said, "Hey, I'm in Tokyo to lunch." Called the guy, and connected. So it's perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the same happened to me today. I had a really good referral to an aircraft manufacturing company with facilities in Singapore. And when I walked through the door, I was immediately accepted because it was a high level referral, high trust. Let's talk. I was a partner already, so that referral makes a big difference. Yeah. So good.
At what point would you think? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say we should wrap. Yeah, how many minutes have we gone so far?
Oh, we have. Yeah, it has been a long one. But I do have one final question for you, and this is just an opinion from your experience. At what point, a lot of people think that you ask for a referral only after you've won the business, you've secured a deal, and then ask for a referral. What is your opinion on this?
No, you can ask before, and it's actually low risk. Let's say you don't get the deal with a customer and you ask, well, anybody else? I mean, what's the risk? All they can do is say no, or no, I don't want. Okay, fine, fine. So let me link that to coaching. When I teach our coaching program, I say, well, how many in the room have a coach or a mentor? And maybe a lot of people do not. So think about somebody you want to ask. And then, okay, all right. Now, what happens if that person says no? Because usually good coaches or good mentors are busy. They have their
Yeah.
calendar filled up. So you ask for the referral. So coach, I can see, thank you. You're busy this year. Who might you recommend? And I found 8 or 9 times out of 10, the person that busy coach recommends you to usually turns out to be better. Because they're more focused on you, they're not as busy maybe. But in that case, just ask for the referral. And all the person can say is, yes, here, go meet so-and-so, or no, not interested. Okay, fine. Ask for it. Low risk.
Yeah,
Any comment?
and that's super valuable, because there's no harm asking at any point in your interaction with a customer. If they bring you an objection, for example, and says, hey, because of this reason, we might have to reconsider. It's fine while they do that. Oh, by the way, is there anybody else who might find value in ABC that I'm offering? Yeah, no harm asking that question at all. Yes.
No harm. No harm. You got to be careful the tone of voice and how you ask, so that you're not be seen as greedy or just want to meet your target. So just be careful how you ask with the tone of voice, and maybe the what and the why. Ask for the referral and why, so that you give a reason rather than, because they're going to think it's just to get your target. But if you have a good reason, well, they're more likely to give one. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Well, makes sense. Good. Wonderful.
Good.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much. So again, our synergy has been good to look at how salespeople might have better RQ. We got to go patent this or trademark it right away, right, for sales. And yeah, I enjoyed today again. So thank you again, Abhi, for your input on selling to B2B customers in Asia. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think, as always, we should have our audience, give us that like button, and subscribe if they enjoy our contents, right? And share it around. Wonderful. Thanks again,
Good.
Mike. And thank you, everybody.
Take care. Thanks again.